So the love for mangoes is eternal.
तो वो जब हम छोटे छोटे थे ना तो खुद अपने मतलब पेड़ों पे चढ़ के और खुद से तोड़ के और बस खाते थे बागीचा से, जो हमेशा याद रहता है।
ये बादाम है, ये भी मलिका है, ये दशहरी है, ये काला पहाड़ है। मीठा हटा देना चाहिए।
Welcome to Unboxed, where we explore the history and culture of quintessentially Indian objects and concepts. My name is Sharmadip Basu and I teach history and social science at Azim Premji University. In this episode, we unbox the beloved king of fruits in India, the mango. This is a fruit that unites people across the political spectrum, but also divides them socially in terms of regional affiliations and so on. This episode of Unboxed is a juicy celebration of a fruit that embodies the essence of India for India's Aam Janta, the mango people.
Unboxed with Sharmadip Basu.
Mango, without a doubt, is the king of fruits, inciting passions that take us into literature, poetry, diplomacy, botany, agriculture, economics, and more.
And donkeys.
Donkeys? Is it related to mangoes in any way?
Yes. It's got donkeys and mangoes.
By the way, that's Professor Amit Basole. No stranger to listeners of Radio Azim Premji University. You must have heard his very well-loved series on Mirza Ghalib. Go on, Amit.
Thanks for the plug. So here's the story. Ghalib fans probably know it already. It was nicely televised in that Gulzar show as well. So the scene is this. Mirza Ghalib sitting outside, hot Delhi summers, hanging out with his pals, enjoying mangoes, because his love for mangoes was legendary. And his friends are bantering, listening to shairi and eating mangoes, throwing away the peels and the seeds in a basket close by. And they've taken over the street. So there's a guy with a donkey and a load coming through who can't get through. So they're like, can you take another road, please? We're all nicely set up here and whatnot. And meanwhile, this conversation is happening. The donkey is quietly going over and exploring what's in the basket. And part of this company is one of Ghalib's friends who is not eating mangoes. He doesn't like mangoes. And he's the butt of all the jokes. Now he notices the donkey sniff around the mango peels and so on and make a face and go away. And he seizes the opportunity. He's like, oh, now's my opportunity to best Ghalib.
Mirza, अब कुछ देखा आपने? गधे ने आम सूंघ कर छोड़ दिया. मिर्जा, आम तो गधे भी नहीं खाते. जी.
Even donkeys don't like mangoes.
गधे हैं जो आम नहीं खाते.
Those who don't eat mangoes are donkeys.
But, it makes me wonder, what is it about the peel that really gives it a bad name? Why did the donkey refuse it?
Yeah, that's probably because the mango peel contains a chemical called urushiol. This urushiol is a kind of an oil that's found in the peels and parts directly below the peels. It can cause a itchy feeling, and in some people it can also cause substantial rashes.
That, dear listeners, is my colleague Divya Uma, who's a professor of biology at Azim Premji University. Divya, can you tell us a little bit more about this urushiol?
Yeah, it is found in other fruits which are related to mango. For example, cashews, pistachios, and even poison ivy.
Poison ivy too.
Yes, they all belong to the same family.
We all know such families, no? Like one is a mango, one is a poison ivy.
But connected by the same chemical.
Blood. I don't know what families you're talking about.
I'm talking about the urushiol family of things. Do carry on, Divya.
Yeah. So they all have the same chemical. And this is probably the reason why cashews are never sold with their shells.
Right.
So the pod is always removed and cashew is actually roasted before they're sold. And roasting it destroys urushiol and makes the cashew edible. So some people who eat mango can get mango mouth, especially after eating a fresh raw mango.
Interesting you should say that, because there's a Bangla word for the rash that you get. It's called khoshpachra.
I see.
And come the mango season, you'll see lots of people on the street with this particular rash at the corner of their lips walking about, and from consuming too much mango and sucking the flesh of the peel.
gutli should be white after you finish having it.
That's how a pro completes a mango. All the threads and everything should be white. I remember sucking the mango and the pulp coming out from my face, and entire shirt is just gone.
So we love mangoes, different varieties, but now we are not able to eat much because we both are diabetic.
Is there such a thing as too much mangoes?
Is there? You tell me.
Well, I feel like the sort of the Ghalib monkey here, but there's a Ghalib anecdote about this too. It's like, there's only two things that are important about a mango. Meethe ho or bahut sare ho. Should be sweet, should be many. And, he's got this, again, letters where he talks about, when I was a young boy, I would sit and eat 10 at a go. And now I'm old and, diabetes. I think we heard somebody talking about how they can't enjoy, right? So the perils of old age. And he says, alas, now, my life is coming to an end and I can't enjoy them as I used to. So...
And let's get to the meat of the matter, the fruit, which we all love. What is it that makes the fruit so delicious? Divya, if you can shed some light on this.
Yeah, mango is tasty, no doubt, but it's also very nutritious. So I think the taste part largely comes from, it has a lot of carbohydrates. Of course, it has proteins, it has amino acids, lipids. It has vitamins and minerals. That also makes it very nutritious. Ripe mango has a lot of carbs in it. And there are several other organic acids. So, of course, this is all very biology or chemistry jargon for you. But
yeah, can I ask you a question? Is there any health benefit to eating mangoes so that I can justify my own consumption?
Absolutely. So, there comes the difference between raw mango and ripe mango. So, even raw mangoes are very nutritious and they have a lot of health benefits when compared to actually ripe mango. So, raw mango has, it's rich in vitamin C, which boosts your immunity. And raw mango also has a good amount of potassium and magnesium, so they act as electrolytes. So your aam panna, for example, has those qualities, and it's also a thirst quencher in summer. And they are slightly lower in sugar when compared to ripe mangoes. So people who are kind of monitoring their sugar levels, blood sugar levels, they can eat raw mango. But one thing should be noted, that as everything else, if you eat too much of anything, that's not good for you.
In Tamil, there is a proverb, Mambadathai virumbadavar maanilathil undo.
That means, is there anybody who don't love mangoes?
Let's get out of the science a little bit and let's get into the world of mangoes, and nothing really captures our experience of the world than language. Are there any mango-related proverbs that you know in respective languages?
One is, of course, aam ke aam, gutliyon ke daam. When you find something valuable, but for a much less, the price you pay for it is much less than the value of it. So I'm getting mangoes, but I'm paying the price of the seeds.
That's so good discount deal is a
exactly.
Aam ke aam, gutliyon ke daam. Okay.
There's that. And then there's aap aam khaiye, ped girne se kya matlab hai aapko? So when somebody starts inquiring too much into something you feel they don't really need to go into, right? So here, I'm giving you something. Why are you worried about where it has come from?
I think I might use that in my classes, when students get too curious and inquisitive.
Yeah, there's one good one in Kannada. So it goes like, hasidu halisina hannu tinnu. So when you're hungry, you eat jackfruit. And undu mavin hannu tinnu. So when you're actually full, then you eat mangoes. So it almost acts as a dessert, right? So it also kind of goes back to mango is more sweeter, so you can kind of have it as a dessert later, but jackfruit is more meatier. So if you're hungry, you can kind of have it. So that's one commonly used.
I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
Between the jackfruit and the mango, I fall on the side of the mango for sure. Yeah. So I mentioned up top that mango is a fruit that unites India. And let's dwell a little bit on the Indianness of the mango. The botanical name of the fruit is Mangifera indica. So India is coded into the fruit and the name of the fruit itself. Does that really mean that it originated in India, Divya?
Well, the botanical name is definitely Mangifera indica. That's what we eat. But the genus Mangifera originated in tropical Asia, and it has a lot of species found in Borneo, Java, Sumatra, and Malay Peninsula, actually. So it's been introduced to parts of Africa and America. So definitely Central, South America, some parts of
Mexico
Florida.
and Brazil, as we'll talk about when we discuss the political economy of mangoes.
Yeah. And the most cultivated of the species is, of course, Mangifera indica, and it has its origin in India and Myanmar. So mango was kind of domesticated around 4,000 years ago.
That's not too old, right?
That's not too old. To give you a context, cattle were domesticated 10,000 years ago. So that makes it relatively recent, actually.
Right. It is thought that actually the Buddhist monks were the people with whom the mango traveled to different parts outside of the Indian subcontinent, right?
Yeah.
And they took it to Southeast Asia in the 4th and 5th centuries. The mango also traveled westwards, apparently, to Arabia, Africa, and the Americas.
Yeah, but I also want to point out that whatever unites us usually also divides us, no? That's where...
Of course, yeah. I'm glad that you brought it up and not me. Because...
So mango, before you get too giddy about the unitedness of it, I'm sure there's some fights waiting to be picked on this.
Let us get into it.
Yeah.
I was itching for the fight.
Yeah.
I bet each one of us has our own favorite mangoes from our respective regions of the subcontinent. What about the rest of you?
Oh, definitely Raspuri. Mango in Kannada is Mavin Hannu, and Raspuri and Badami is what I grew up eating. So I kind of associate that with a lot of dishes, and raw mango, of course. Raw mango, a lot of dishes have that.
So are you willing to pick a fight over this? Like, will you defend Raspuri and Badami to death? If I say Himsagar is better than Raspuri and Badami?
What is this Never heard of this. What is this?
Himsagar is the Bengali mango identity rests on Himsagar.
Oh, I've never heard of this mango.
Which actually, it has a very interesting place in the mango season. It apparently ripens only over 3 weeks at the end of June, around June, towards the tail end of the season actually. And it's very, very sweet with a very small gutli or the seed, so very fleshy as well, so that you can, make a small incision and suck the flesh out and eat it that way.
You don't get it here?
And Himsagar, no. Himsagar is...
I believe you, they don't let it out of Bengal.
And it doesn't come out of West Bengal.
It doesn't come out of
No, not to unfortunate souls. You have to go seeking the Himsagar. It doesn't come out on its own.
So it's got snow and the sea in its name.
It's not snow, it's dew. Not the Him,
not
but
the Him.
Him is the...
Him. I think Him is...
Himsagar is, yeah. So the...
I don't think Himsagar is that tasty actually. Have you eaten Raspuri or Badami?
I have. I'll reserve my opinion, but why don't you enlighten us?
No, that's what I have grown up eating, and actually badami with little bit of ground kesari and with little bit of sugar and milk is fantastic. You can make mango milkshake, and Raspuri is also, very juicy and little fibrous, and it also has little tangy flavor to it. So I'm ready to bet on that.
What about you, Amit?
Oh, my favorite?
Yeah, where do your allegiances lie?
So you guys are talking about sort of what's the best mango other than Alphonso, obviously. I'm assuming that is taken for granted.
That's overrated.
Overrated.
No, it can't be, So any ranking that you do has to be
benchmarked against the...
No, it's setting that aside because it's a different league, remember.
Cannot be. I don't believe it. I think it's fundamentally overrated. Even, between Karnataka and Marathis, you guys can't decide who the Alphonso belongs to.
Actually, Alphonso tastes somewhat similar to badam.
I would say. I have to agree that is true. Yes.
So it's not really,
But I'm from Bombay, but actually my favorite is not the Alphonso. I much prefer the Langra. Yeah.
You are undermining your regional location.
I know. But I have dual loyalties because part of my family is from UP.
I see. The Langra country.
Dashera, Langra. Langra is just awesome. And the funny thing about it is that it never turns color. It remains green the whole time. So you just don't know. You have to be super on it and keep smelling it and catch it at the right moment. And it has that tang that you were talking about. Mm-hmm. That's what really gives it that body, And I found that about many mangoes. Setting aside the varieties, when they do that artificial ripening, I think the first thing that disappears is that tanginess. You get a kind of flat sweetness. So it's sweet, but
the tangy part
yeah,
is
the
missing.
fullness doesn't, and that's what really gives the enjoyment, I think, much more.
Exactly. I'm glad that the tang tingles your taste buds, but I can assure you that the Himsagar doesn't have tang, and it's pure joyous sweetness.
I mean, if you want to mithai, you can just buy a rasgulla. You don't have to eat a mango.
Actually, I'm glad that you mentioned the rasgulla and the Bengali sweets, because Bengali sweets that use mango as an ingredient always use the Himsagar mango. No other mango goes into Bengali sweets.
Is it?
Yeah.
Probably because nothing else grows there.
False allegations. False allegations. There are plenty varieties of mango in the Bengal Bihar region. I think we can endlessly bicker over which region's mango is better. But one thing I think we can still agree upon, that each region has sung its own praises in its own language to the mango. Amit, this is your territory.
Well, we can start with Kalidasa.
Good place to start.
Great place to start. And Kalidasa has a work called Ritu Samhara, which people would have heard of. It's sort of description of the various seasons and so on. So in spring, and this is it takes us away nicely from the fruit, right? Before the fruit comes, the trees are flowering. And the whole flowering of the mango trees itself is a huge cultural deal. And it's a marker of spring, Vasant Ritu. So Kalidas has this verse,
प्रफुल्लचूतां कुरतीक्ष्णसायको द्विरेफमाला विलसद्धनुर्गुणः मनांसि भेत्तुं सुरतप्रसंगे,
which in translation goes something like this: sprays of full-blown mango blossoms, his sharp arrows. He's describing Kamdev, the god of love, right? Because spring is associated with love. Honeybees in rows, the humming bowstring. Warrior spring set to break the hearts of love's devotees is now approaching, my love. So that person is talking to their lover or their beloved and talking about the approach of spring, bringing in these kinds of things. And this, if this is too high and literary for you, then I have just the antidote for this as well, which is a rather funny modern poem from this Urdu poet Akbar Allahabadi. So we are jumping, centuries in time, but staying roughly in the same region, Ujjain, Allahabad, not that far. And Akbar Allahabadi has a poem which starts like this: Nama na koi yaar ka paigam bhejiye, इस फसल में जो भेजिए तो बस आम भेजिए.
Wow.
You're doing the right thing, even without having understood the full thing.
Exactly. I don't understand how you do, but I got the feeling of the poem.
So you got the feeling. So you say, and it's actually quite nicely ties up to Kalidasa, because the first line says, don't bother sending me any paigam or message from my beloved or lover or whatever. I'm not interested. In this season, why don't you just send me mangoes? Yeah, that's enough. And it's not all. I mean, this poem gets funnier. So he says, ऐसा जरूर हो कि उन्हें रख के खा सकूं, पुख्ता अगरचे 20 तो 10 खाम भेजिए. Make sure that I can eat them for a while. So maybe you send me 10 ripe ones or 20 ripe ones and 10 raw ones. मालूम है आपको बंदे का एड्रेस, सीधे इलाहाबाद मेरे नाम भेजिए.
अरे वाह.
ऐसा ना हो कि आप ये लिखें जवाब में, तामिल होगी पहले मगर दाम भेजिए. And don't say please send the money first, send the mangoes first. So yeah, this and Ghalib's love for mangoes, as I said, already famous. He actually has a whole poem also in praise of mangoes as well. I'm not going to go into it, but he says, what is sugarcane before mango? That's his comparison. Like once you've eaten mango, and that goes to my point about it's not just enough to be sweet.
Right.
It's that full bodiness which is there.
Do we have any interesting story to share from the Tamil country, for example, if we've been talking about Sanskrit so far?
Yeah, and it's actually a very interesting story from the Bhakti universe. So there's this Tamil, around the 5th to 10th centuries, you find a lot of Bhakti poetry in Tamil, from the Alvars, who are Vaishnavas, and the Nayanars, who are Shiva devotees. So this is a story of a Nayanar woman poet, one of the few, I think, maybe out of some 60 odd, there are some 3 women that we know of. Her name is Karaikal Ammayar.
Karaikal isn't it a place as well? Where is it?
Yeah, it's part of the Union Territory in Pondicherry.
Right.
Former French colony.
Right.
And this is that coast which has a lot of trade with Southeast Asia, which actually appears in this story as well, interesting. So, I mean, the story is very long and we won't get into the details, but basically the mango features in this way. There's this woman who's from the town of Karaikal, and she is a ardent Shiva devotee. So one day her husband brings a couple of mangoes home to eat later, I guess, and then goes away on his work. And in the intervening time, a sannyasi comes to the doorstep asking for food. Amma. And she gives him some curd rice, but he's still hungry. And she only has the mango that her husband has got to offer the sannyasi, and she offers it to him because how can you turn away a hungry sannyasi? So she gives the mango, the husband comes back, and she gives him the second mango. But then he wants one more because it's...
Right, he's the one who brought it. He knows the count. There are two over there. Where did the other one go?
Yeah, and there are never too many mangoes. Yeah. So he wants the other one, which doesn't exist. So now she is in a fix. Of course, from when I saw that, I thought, just tell him you gave it to the son. But no, these stories don't work like that. She can't tell it to him. So she goes inside and she prays to Shiva. And of course, it turns out that the sannyasi was nobody other than Shiva. So he obliges and gives, okay, here you go, you're in trouble. Take a mango. And she gives it to her husband. The husband eats it. He wants one more.
Greedy.
Yeah, even though he's only brought two, okay. So
he's more on the Akbar Allahabadi line of things.
Yeah. So, and then she goes again and then again prays and again gets a mango. And her husband discovers this. How this is happening, and then he realizes
that there's another man involved in this story.
Well, no, that would be your take on it. I think this is a nicer take. He realizes the extent of devotion that his wife has, and this is, I mean, we are having fun with this story, but this is actually a highly respected saint that we're talking about. But anyway, to cut a long story short, the contemporary manifestation of all of this is that there is a festival that is celebrated in honor of Karikalamaya, and it's called the Mangani Festival. So mango festival.
Yeah, the Mangani comes from Tamil word for mango, which is mangai or mambaram,
right?
For the ripe fruit. So there's even a street named after mangoes in the temple town of Srirangam in Tamil Nadu. So it's called Mambara Salai, or the mango street.
Salai is the road, the street, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the nice thing I found on YouTube, people can check it out, is so this festival involves people throwing mangoes as the procession goes on the street.
Are they good catchers?
So in the video you can see people just dumping the fruit, and then but the nice thing is the video I found is actually a tribute to the municipality of Karaikal, and they show all the people who are cleaning up all the mangoes after the festival. We hardly ever think of these big processional, all the things they leave in their wake, and somebody has to clean it up. So this is a tribute to that, to people who are cleaning it up, which I thought was very nice and thoughtful.
Sugar baby.
Sugar baby.
Raspuri.
Malika. Malgova.
Totapuri.
Dashari.
Himsagar. Rumani.
Langra.
Alphonso.
Now, Divya, if you can answer a question that I've wondered about for a long, long time, how come there are so many different kinds of mangoes?
Actually, there are a lot of varieties, hundreds or thousands of varieties, but there are
when
only...
you say variety, that's different from species?
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely. So, the genus Mangifera has about 64 species.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But in one species, Mangifera indica, which we all eat, there are a lot of varieties. And varieties are nothing but natural variation of a particular species. And of course, out of this Mangifera indica, one species has come about various varieties. And these are natural variations, and also humans have artificially created, if they like one flavor and some other person likes another flavor, they have actually mixed two flavors and created a new variety.
So there's a work of imagination in actually creating.
Absolutely. And it's not just flavors of mango. It can be, the height of the tree. It can be the pulpiness of the fruit. It can be the texture. It can be, how flat or thick a seed is. So based on all these characteristics, people have actually grafted 2 different varieties of mango and created entirely new variety.
Can you tell us one of the more famous ones or few of the famous ones which have been...
Alphonso is clearly one of the famous ones, which is actually...
Alphonso is not native.
It has an interesting story. It's called the Hapus mango, and it's a creation of a Jesuit missionary in the 16th century. They named it after Alfonso de Albuquerque, the Portuguese viceroy in India.
So, but Divya, this grafting, can you say a little bit more about what does it mean?
Yes, so it's not actually putting a seed and growing an entire new plant, but it's called as vegetative grafting because you're joining 2 separate woody stems together, which grow into a new variety. So a young shoot from whatever variety you like is attached to a different seedling, and the seedling will develop a root, so that becomes the base of the tree. And grafting produces actually newer and stronger varieties of mangoes, and it even produces quicker, blossoms and a lot more fruit. So that's actually preferred.
I see. Actually, that reminds me of the mango man of India, Haji Kalimullah Khan. And he was awarded the Padma Shri, I don't know if you guys know about this, in 2008 for his achievement in growing 1,600 varieties of mango. Not just that, using grafting technique, he has grown 200 varieties of mango on a single tree. Just
on
try
one
it.
Tree, there are 200 varieties?
One single tree, 200 different kinds of mangoes.
This is the original Aam Aadmi.
This is the original Aam Aadmi, yeah. I think that should be a category of prize unto itself. The original Aam Aadmi.
I did want to go back to Alphonso. There's a lot to talk about in terms of, the economy.
Right, of course, yeah.
By the end of the 16th century, the Portuguese, Estado de India, their sort of territories, economy also has a pretty large mango export. Alphonso, export to the rest of India and the world. And then they extend the cultivation of the Alphonso to areas like Ratnagiri, Karwar, that whole belt, coastal belt from Maharashtra, Goa, Karnataka is actually important for this cultivation.
But mangoes are cultivated in many parts of the world today. But Indian mangoes are still considered the best quality along with Pakistani and Bangladeshi mangoes. They're also grown in Caribbean islands.
Which is not surprising because it has such a large diaspora from this part of the world.
That's true. And it's also, grown in Florida. Mangoes have a different name. So Tommy Atkins is one variety which is grown in Florida.
Tommy Atkins is the name of a mango?
Yes.
I thought it was an American football player or something. Okay.
Yeah. But they don't measure up to the, market value of a good Alphonso.
Well, speaking of Alphonso and politics, I don't know if people know that there was actually a mango ban on Alphonsos, for that matter, all mangoes, Indian mangoes, to the US. This is the late 80s, 89. And the reason was a mundane one. It was about, I think, pesticides and other concerns coming through,
the mangoes that were exported to.
Yeah. Actually, they banned it probably because they were worried that insects, especially the fruit flies, which sit on the mango, would also enter their territory and spread.
So Indian fruit flies are also a problem for Americans. I mean, they need to have their proper entry papers and all that. Okay.
Anyway, but the Indian economy was hurt
because of the mango ban.
Because of the ban on exports. And then...
But Amit, was this only on the Alphonso or...
No. I think it was...
it was a blanket.
Yeah. But then it changed, the change story is also funny. George W. Bush came to India in 2006 when Dr. Manmohan Singh was the Prime Minister, and they were... that's when he was entertained as a part of the official visit and so on, and he had the mango here, and he wanted to taste Indian mangoes. And then he goes back, and then the next year in 2007 they lifted the ban. But it stayed for a while, I guess. And then the other interesting tidbit here is, as a part of the US trade deal, US-India trade deal in 2007, the exchange was between Alphonso mangoes and Harley-Davidson motorcycles.
Wow, this is amazing. No, the mango diplomacy is not a new thing by any means, right?
Yeah, so that's the other interesting thing, is that you find representations of these, this fruit in all kinds of high-level exchanges, so to speak. Right?
And it has this great symbolic value.
Yeah. And this particular painting that I'm thinking of is a Mughal miniature, and it depicts Jahangir, the Mughal Emperor Jahangir, and the King of Persia, Shah Abbas. And they're both sitting, and there's these exotic fruits around, and there's a plate with mangoes in there. And the interesting point to note here also is Babur, Jahangir's grandfather. He didn't like the word for mango, because in Turkish apparently it is close to some sort of obscenity or something. So he was always, I think, complaining about the quality of fruits. Doesn't he have in Baburnama like a whole bunch of complaints?
Yeah. He doesn't like much of what he sees in Hindustan.
Yeah. Including the fruits.
Including the fruits, yeah.
And he misses his melons or something. Yeah.
Apricots. So, that yellow that you see in Mughal miniatures and all that, do you guys have any idea how it is produced? The pigment, which gives that bright yellow color?
Does it have a name? Is it a particular thing?
Well, it comes to be called, after the Europeans come and set up shop in our part of the world, it comes to be called the Indian yellow.
I see.
But it's produced out of the dried urine of cows that were exclusively fed on mango leaves in the Bengal and Bihar region. So that is the source of the bright yellow pigment. Now, you might wonder why it's not the mangoes that the cows were fed on, why it's the leaves. That I don't know. But
well, the answer is obvious, no? Mangoes are for the people. The cow only gets the leaves. If the cow had a choice, it would probably eat the mango.
The donkey clearly wasn't given the choice in the Ghalib story. Yeah. But that's true. I mean, in modern times, mango has had this huge symbolic purchase in international relations, especially in South Asian context. So Nehru, for example, gifted mangoes to Chairman Mao. And in the 80s, Pakistan's then President Ziaul Haq, exchanged mangoes with India's Prime Minister, Mrs. Indira Gandhi. In fact, and this I remember from my grad school days in the US, India and Pakistan also have some rivalry over mangoes, right?
I mean, that's almost bound to happen, no? It's like the cricket of fruits, right? Because both countries have that as the national fruit, and, of course, a lot of pride associated with which are the best ones. Actually, it's not just mangoes, even basmati rice, has the same thing, right? Yeah. They think theirs is better and so on. And Bangladesh doesn't want to be left out. So they're all major exporters, I should say, of mangoes. Yes.
So the mango season in India, as we know, is very brief. It's just about 3 months of the year. But the mango has a shelf life that is way beyond its cultivation period, right?
Yeah, the mango flowering season is usually late winter in India. But the raw mangoes, which are made into pickles and chutneys, they start even earlier.
Yeah, that's right, Divya. I mean, during the season itself, there are so many different preparations of the mangoes, right?
I love amras. Amras puri was like a big thing growing up. I don't know if you guys had that. So we have puris with
Absolutely.
amras.
Even in Karnataka, actually. Puris and, mango pulp with little bit of sugar if it's very tangy.
Yeah.
One experimentation with the mango that the Bangladeshis have done, which I'm a great fan of, is a variation of the mishti doi. They have something called the am doi, which you don't find for whatever reason in West Bengal. But am doi is absolutely divine. You folks in the south have been doing things that we are not exactly aware of.
Avakai from Andhra and Telangana is really popular.
Which I know for a fact is something that Divya really likes, avakai.
Yeah, I like avakai, but I also like there is this pickle made up of the entire baby mango. Actually, it's raw mango, baby raw mango, where the entire seed,
the whole thing
is marinated with various condiments, and that's very popular. It's known as appemidi in Karnataka. But avakai is also done in a very specific way, and Telugus die for it.
You have this pile of hot steaming rice, ghee, and oil of that pickle, and you just mix it up. And mango rice is a very standard thing. It's like the curry you grate the curry and put it in chawal, and it's very tasty. But of course, there's also the Thai take on it, which is the coconut milk cooked rice with ripe mango. So that's there. And then recently there was a recipe I saw, I sent it to you as well. You want to maybe tell a little bit about that? That was awesome.
That is from Jahangir's book of recipes, right? This is mango biryani, which again stretches the imagination and the horizon of where the mango can go. But this is mango biryani, which is layered with what I don't remember the specific kind of mango that they use, but nonetheless.
Don't even mention that. But there's saffron, there's all the good stuff.
Yeah, all the good stuff along with mango layering as well. Yes.
Yeah. And so it's layers of rice and mango and rice, like a biryani, and it's cooked in dum. So it's dum rice with mango and.
We should try some of this. Talking about it is making me. Yeah. There's this other story that Amit, you shared as well, right? The mango traveling to Israel.
Yeah, that was very fascinating. There's apparently a condiment called amba, I think, in Hebrew and Arabic. And amba is, as people know, just the word for mango. And it was brought to Iraq, apparently, by Baghdadi Jews. So David Sassoon, people would know.
Sassoon of the Sassoon Hospital.
Sassoon Hospital, Sassoon Docks, right. Sassoon Library in Bombay. He was a Baghdadi Jew.
Right.
And that's where this comes. So it goes from them to the Middle East as a mango pickle.
And now it's a popular side.
Yeah, so I'm told, yeah.
And it's called amba.
Yeah.
I mean, mango is never really out of season as far as the Indian diet is concerned, right? And let us not forget the packaged drinks, which again were a big part of our childhood, which kept us going through the summers, right?
It's not just mango itself, but every part of, I guess, mango tree is used in one way or the other. The wood is valuable.
Right, mango wood. A lot of furniture is actually
absolutely
made out of mango wood.
Yeah. And leaves are used as buntings or decorations during various festivals. In fact, during the start of the spring, I remember, people usually tie these freshly cut, leaves and stitched like a bunting.
Except the seed, right? Do we have any use for the seed? No, you did point out that the seed is actually very nutritious.
Yeah, you would be surprised that actually seed is the most valuable part of the mango. And seed, basically, it's powdered and it is consumed and it's very healthy. And research has shown that mango seed is quite nutrient dense and it has a lot of micronutrients and also antioxidants. It's a good source of vitamin. And they're also, they have healthy fats, very similar to cocoa butter. Yeah, wow. Which is surprising. And in fact, the seed also have extracts that treat diarrhea, and it's used for digestive disorders and even for various kinds of cancer, actually.
Wow.
Just like the raw mango, even seed looks like it's even better to have the powdered seed and have a spoonful of it.
Wow. Clearly Ghalib's donkey did not know all this. Otherwise, I'm sure he would have taken a bite. Up next, we look at some mangonomics. And being the resident expert in this group of three, Amit, why don't you tell us why the mango means so much to India economically?
Okay, well, we are a very large producer globally if you look at it. Then we have about 45% of the total world area where mangoes are produced. India is a big part of the output. But interestingly, it is not actually a big part of the export market.
I see. Oh.
So there's a lot of domestic consumption, basically, is what it means. So just to give you a number, I think there were about 27,000 metric tons of mangoes exported last year from India. That's about $48 million in value terms, and that's a lot. It's not a lot when you put it next to something like basmati rice, which would be in the billions of dollars. But it's an important agro crop nonetheless. But this doesn't amount to a lot of the global share, It's in fact less than a percentage point, less than 1% of it. So a huge amount of possibilities exist in developing the mango export market. And not just mangoes themselves, but also, a little bit more value-added products.
Like?
So pulp, for example, or preservatives of various kinds, pickles, this kind of thing. There's a big appetite for it in the world. And clearly, as we've just talked about, the things that we have done innovatively with mango are humongous. So I think there's a lot of potential.
Right. So what I hear you say in effect is that our own appetite, outsized appetite for mangoes are getting in the way of certain economic benefits that we can...
Far be it from me to suggest that we should stop eating and export them. But I'm just saying that, the numbers are what they are.
Right.
There is also a lot of competition among various exporters to get the geographical indicator, right, or the GI tag for their own mango varieties. And clearly, US and Mexico are already ahead of this race.
At this point, with some chauvinistic pride, I want to bring into the conversation that Himsagar, my favorite variety of the mango, has also been GI tagged.
So folks might not know what a GI tag is. As Divya said, it's a geographical indication. It's actually a very interesting intellectual property right. It's like a patent or a copyright, but it doesn't go to a person or an entity. Right? Generally, you think of a patent belonging to a company or a copyright belonging to an author. A GI is a property right that goes to a region, a geography. And you have to file, there's a legal process for getting it. And there are lots of GI tag products in India. So we're talking about mangoes, but there are, Banarsi sari is GI tag. Rasgulla is there. There was a fight over Odisha and Bengal about that. Then there's, Darjeeling tea, which was the first one in 2004.
This I didn't know that. Yeah. It was the first one to be GI.
The first GI tag product in India was Darjeeling tea. The advantage is that it gives you a sort of authentic reputation, right? So nobody can claim to have the same properties as that. So Alphonso is Alphonso. I can't grow it, here down south, for example, and call it and sell it as Alphonso because there's a particular geography that has been given the legal status as the place from where they come. Right?
The soil and so on and so forth.
Exactly. Climatic conditions, local customs and artisanal practices and so forth.
Mango crops make headlines every year, and it is keenly associated with changing weather patterns, climate, rainfall, more rain, less rain. Too much rain can ruin the crop. Too little rain can affect mango production.
Definitely, rainfall can create a havoc in mango production because it affects mango flowering. Flowers are pollinated, and that becomes a fruit. So not just rainfall, definitely change in temperature and humidity also affects flowering. Mango flowers are arranged in a cluster or a group known as inflorescence. So a bunch of flowers are on an inflorescence, and there is both male flowers and hermaphrodite flowers on an inflorescence. Hermaphrodite is basically has both male and female flowers.
I didn't know that. That's absolutely fascinating.
So because of changing temperature and rainfall and humidity, it can alter the ratio of hermaphrodites to male flowers. And that can in turn alter how many fruits are actually produced.
So from the most expensive Miyazaki mangoes costing lakhs of rupees to the readily available ones like Totapuri, Langra, Alphonso, there's a mango for everyone in India. And despite all our differences in terms of social status, in terms of income, mango unites us all. In that sense, the mango is a great leveler in Indian society. While it is truly a fruit of the people, the Aam Janta, so to speak, the mango is also a fruit that keeps family bonds alive. And this reminds me of a very evocative story. A writer I know once wrote of her complex relationship with her father, which was mended by a shared love of mangoes. Their relationship had run into some rough weather, but every year the father monitors a mango on a tree and calls the writer when it's ripe for picking. This I find absolutely fantastic, that the mango inserts itself into every aspect of our social, emotional lives. And in this case, when other forms of language has broken down, when communication has broken down between the father and the daughter, it is the mango which provides a context for them to keep the relationship going. You were listening to Unboxed, Mango People, on Radio Azim Premji University. For more resources and useful links, see our show notes and visit our websites. You can listen to this radio show on YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple, Amazon Music, and a host of other platforms.
You're listening to
आप सुन रहे हैं
You're listening to Hinsunotha.
ನೀವು ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ ರೇ ಕಥಾ ರೇಡಿಯೋ
Azim Premji
ಯೂನಿವರ್ಸಿಟಿ
The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent. This non-commercial program is for educational purposes only.